Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the LA Poker Roundup. This is episode 6. It is October 10th, 2023. I am your host, Ty Dobberton, along with my co host, Derek Kwan.
What's up, everyone?
Hey, and as always, we will be kicking off the show with the results from the last week in the LA area.
And Hollywood Park had some big events this past weekend, but they have a policy not to publish results, so let's chat about that.
Yeah, what the heck's up with that, Derek? Then we will go over what's going on this weekend at the Bike because they have their first full weekend of the Big Poker Oktober schedule coming up.
That's our big fall series down here in LA. And we continue to see evidence of a big live poker boom, but maybe not so much for cash games. We're going to talk a little bit about tournaments and cash games.
That sounds exciting, man. I know that I am all in on that. And also, there's been some buzz on the social medias lately. It appears two Hustler Casino Live regulars that people might recognize have been scammed by a online con man.
That's really unfortunate. And Ty ran a poll about dinner breaks, so we're going to have a little bit of chat about dinner breaks for tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. And then we will close up this episode, as always, with a roundup of what's happening this weekend and what is the best play in LA. All right. So, this past week, we did not have a lot of really big events going on in LA, no major series, but there were some interesting tournaments nonetheless that I was able to dig up on the social medias and likewise. Hopefully, one day we'll just have a direct line, all the TDs sending us their reports, the results, so it'll be easier. But for now, we got to do a little sleuthing. So over at the Commerce, turns out they had themselves a little ESPN radio sponsored free roll. The Mason and Ireland Poker Invitational was last week, and congratulations to Ricardo here for taking first place. Did you know this was going on, Derek?
I did not know this is going on, but I did read about it afterwards, and it's kind of cool, right? You just listen to ESPN radio for some sort of secret code, and all of a sudden you get entered into this free roll.
Yeah, it turns out so. I don't listen to the radio much anymore ever since I got Spotify, but if you're a regular listener to 710 ESPN around here, you listen to the Mason Ireland show. They were just putting out that code word from, I guess, May 16th to June 3rd, and 200 players were able to qualify like that. So nice. It looks like Ricardo here won $1,000, and they paid down to fifth place. So the places paid out $1,000, then $700, then $500, then $200, and then $100.
That's pretty good. So Ricardo took a little bit of radio listening and parlayed it into $1,000. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, $1,000. Nice fun time in the afternoon. I gotta guess there's some sort of trophy. I mean, this is Commerce tournaments, all have trophies, right?
Yeah, gotta give him an ESPN trophy. Come on, let's go.
Absolutely. And that's pretty awesome. I really hope that I've seen a couple other radio station events at Commerce. I'm gonna try and keep on top of that so that we can let people know. Maybe try to qualify ourselves one of these things. All right. So the next one I found, another LA local doing well, not necessarily in LA for this one, but we've talked about this guy recently, Mr. David the Dragon Pham, went up to the win and won the opening event for $42,884 up there. Congratulations, man.
My goodness, this guy is firing on all cylinders right now. I do not want to see him at my table.
Yeah, absolutely not. I'm hoping he's going to stay up there for the next event and not be down at the Bike this weekend, that's for sure. I believe he won. He took down one at the Bike just the other week as well. Man. Yeah. So next that I was able to find down at the Gardens, one of the Gardens dailies here. I believe this was on Saturday. We had a four-way chop. The only person I was able to identify here is the poster of this, Mr. Donald Bolt, sporting the Bad Beat Blockers hat there. And as you can see, Kevin having a little fun with him in the background there.
Congrats, Donald.
Yep. And, staying on Donald's, I was about to call it Twitter, but I guess X. Staying on Donald's X here. Also, on Monday, we have Donald once again with our man Cedric Darrett. Apparently he goes by Z Money out there in the streets, chopping up the Monday tournament at Hollywood Park.
Yeah, Z Money's all over the place right now too. We see him in so many of these results. And Donald, I think he's a. I don't recall playing with him too much, but have you played with Donald a lot?
Oh, absolutely. So you can always recognize Don, especially in the summer months, because he's the guy who's sitting there with this fan that has a
Oh
Yeah, he's the guy
yeah.
that with the fan that has an arm on it and it's pointed right at him. He's always a guy playing with that. But now I think you'll recognize these guys by sporting these hats. You know, this bad beat blocker hat. I believe they're um, some of these guys have got a kind of a training site slash apparel thing going on. They're trying to promote. So kudos to them.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. And this is kind of a good seg. So we were able to know who won the Monday tournament here, but we're unable to know who won the big events at Hollywood Park this weekend, right? So we talked last week that two of the good tournaments to play if you're going to play in LA this weekend were these Friday, the 25K bounty there at Hollywood Park, and the Saturday 50K Saturday special at Hollywood Park. But unfortunately, they do not post results, right?
This has to be one of the very few casinos that don't post results. It's so strange. What is happening?
Yeah, so I cashed at a event there earlier in the year, and I cashed at an event there last year, and they didn't show up in Hendon Mob, and I didn't really think much of it. Um, sometimes events just slip through the cracks. Sometimes some casinos don't bother posting certain dailies, that kind of thing. But this year I was a little curious, and I took a look, and I got in touch with one of the tournament directors there, and it turns out that it's a casino policy, to not post the results of their tournaments by default. They just don't do it. I guess the policy is because of privacy concerns. They want to protect the privacy of the players or something like that. But I mean, I don't know. What do you think of that?
It feels a little antiquated. I think everyone is getting the results online. Every place is posting results, and I think if we are concerned about people's concern for privacy, just let them opt out. That happens all the time. You see people go unreported, not report, right? You actually see that in results because people opted out of being reported in the results. So let them do that instead of globally just not reporting everyone. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I absolutely think that, make it the exception and not the rule. I mean, look, you have to have a player's card to play in these tournaments. You have to be registered. If you cash a certain amount, the casino has to file tax information on you for you. So why are you hiding these results? Like, what kind of people, what kind of situations would you need to hide the fact that you did well in a poker tournament? I mean,
Right.
seriously,
Right.
like, if you need to hide the fact that you did well in the poker tournament, I'm sorry. I feel like you just shouldn't be playing in a public venue. Like, go play in a home game, go play an underground game. Like, go, like, the only thing I can think of is remember, recently, I believe in the last year, Mike Postle resurfaced for a moment
Oh
down
yeah.
in a Mississippi
Like in
casino.
disguise.
Yeah, yeah, he had the shades and the hat, and he signed in under like his middle name, and
Oh
he
my
made a deep
gosh.
run. And as soon as that was known, right, I believe it was like Veronica Brill and maybe Todd Whittles, kind of. No, I think it was just Veronica kind of made a run for a lawyer down there to try and get a hold of some of his winnings. I think they were a little too slow, but I mean, that's the only kind of situation I can think of where you wouldn't want to be publishing and promoting. And for the casino, it's a big loss too. You, for instance, you say you've never even been to Hollywood Park, right?
Yeah.
And I know a number of people who are always shocked when I mention when Hollywood Park has a larger tournament on a weekend. They are always completely shocked. Like, did they even run tournaments? I didn't know they ran bigger tournaments. And how are people going to know if you're not getting it
Uh,
out like this, right?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not there in their operations, and even though it doesn't make sense to us, maybe they have some logic for it, but it doesn't really make sense to me. Again, if anybody is concerned about your privacy, you can always just tell them not to report you in the result, and you won't be there. So it's fine. I'm pretty sure Hendon Mob also allows you to opt out, probably. So
Yep. Hey, and you know what? A shout out. We actually have someone in the chat. This may be a first for our show, so thank you. Welcome to Stop Cappin'. I'm not sure who that is, but he's in there. Apparently he's at the bike, so have fun. Hope you're doing well. You must be playing in the October events. We'll talk about in a little bit.
yeah, thanks for joining us, man, and thanks for dropping in chat.
So as a little service announcement, though, to those of you who do play at the Hollywood Park tournaments and you do want to have your results posted, you can report them yourself to Hendon, and they will put them in. So here's an example of the Hollywood Park, some event they ran here, $250 deep stack, right? And it looks like our man Cedric decided to put that into the system himself. So if you have some evidence about the tournament, how many people are in it, with the payouts. I'm not positive what those requirements are, but if you ask the floor there, they're gonna know. But I don't think it has to be a lot. It might just be simply a picture of your payout slip or a picture of the board with the final payouts on it, and you send that to Hendon Mob. They will put it up for you. So as you can see here, Cedric's reported this event, and this is from a series here. So it looks like he didn't just report that one. He reported this event as well. So that is an option for you if you would like your reports to put your results up there. I did get a little bit of intel from the weekend events there from watching Instagram. We mentioned him last week. My buddy Eric Ordonez, he actually finished 9th place in that Saturday event, and immediately after finishing 9th place, the rest of the table chopped. So that was an 8-way chop. I'm not sure who those 8 people were, but on Saturday, that tournament, I believe, ended in an 8-way chop. I believe everybody got around, maybe 4,000, 4,500. And
Nice.
It sounds like they beat their 50K guarantee pretty resoundingly.
Nice. Well, good. Glad, some people had a good weekend. And I guess it's always nice to bust a person who refused to chop, I guess. You get to chop yourselves afterwards.
To be fair, he was the shortest stack, I believe, by a decent amount, which is why he decided to keep playing.
I'm with you, Mr. Ordonez. I don't like chopping either.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're a really short stack and you're not chopping for much more than what you were going to get. I mean, you definitely, the reward, you can just suddenly double twice, and it's like, yeah, I'm not getting last place, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So that brings us to this weekend and the Oktoberfest. So, our buddy Stop Capping down there is probably down there at the bike right now. So let me bring up the current state. So if you were not aware, the bike runs its own tournament blog here. It is thebikepokerfeed.com. And they post during their series. They have people posting little updates. Now, typically, it's just a whole lot of this event starting, that event starting, but especially during the larger quantums, they have coverage. They have pictures, all sorts of stuff. So you can see here that it looks like the first flight of the day finished up with King Lu bagging up the top stack for the night. Looks like she bagged 478.
Another bike reg, actually LA reg, plays a lot of the tournaments around here.
Yep, and some other folks who bagged up, whose names you may recognize here.
Oh, wow, look at this list, huh? On a Tuesday. Crazy. Ron West, oh hell. Ed Lou again. Yeah, Ron West was the guy that was 2 to my left in the, or on my left in the Commerce main event. And man, we had some interesting hands together.
Oh, that sounds awesome, man. I mean, not awesome from a making money point of view, but it sounds like fun from a poker point of view.
Yeah, he was a big chip stack too. It was definitely interesting situation.
It sounds like a challenge for sure. So I did check out the blog earlier today, and I read, so the first flight here had 84 players, and this was the $560 flight, so that got 17 people through. And the second flight here, the $300 flight, had 48 players, where only 10% advanced, so that let 5 people through. They have not published how many people are in the third flight for the day, but I'm assuming it's going to be smaller than that first flight. So, it's looking like 22. It's looking like maybe 30, somewhere between 30 and 35 people will be advancing from the day. I believe they only have 3 day ones before the day 2 coming up on Friday. Let's take a look at that. So here's the schedule. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for day ones, and there are only, So yeah, it's good. I think at that pace, if they get 35-ish people, 35 people per day, that's going to get you to about 110, 120 people. That'll get them pretty close to that 300,000 guarantee. And then with the day 2 entries, they ought to hit that guarantee right around the mark, I'd say.
It's like a short, quick one. It's nice. It's nice that they have a 4 p.m. flight for the working people. You can go there, get there at like 5. Right? I'm pretty sure that late reg will be open for a couple hours. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'll be interested to see what time they end though.
Yeah, so late reg ends at 4 p.m. 6 levels. So, and they're 30 minutes. So that's 1, like 2, 3.5 hours. So yeah, you can register until 7:30. Yep, and in this particular flight, you get 50,000 chips. So even registering at 7:30 with the blinds at 1,000, you have 50 bigs. So it's really not that bad.
I'm guessing they probably finish up around 1 or 2 a.m., but we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, I would guess that's probably the case as well.
Yeah,
Um,
give us a tweet if you're in that flight and let us know what time you finish. I'd be interested to know.
for sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. Or if you're in the earlier one and you're still around. So yep, there's those. Now it's interesting if you look at the schedule. We kind of remarked on this earlier when we were taking a look. This is something that always kind of puzzles us. This is a 300,000 guarantee. The day two is a $2,000 and 100 buy-in.
Wow.
But then take a look. The mini Mega Millions, the $1 million
So
guarantee, their day two buy-ins are $1,400.
that's crazy. Like a $2,100 day two buy-in for a 300K guarantee doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't seem
Yeah,
good.
it's very strange. I mean, it's very weird, right? Because you can buy into these day ones, these quantum day ones for let's say average 450, or you could buy into
Yeah.
day two for 2,000. It's like, well, that just seems sure.
Yeah.
Why don't you just? And then over here, the later, they're gonna have this 1K regular tournament, not even the quantum, just a regular 1K um, tournament over here. So it's like, is that what this is gonna be? I mean, the Gardens SoCal special that ran last week, right? They had 388 players over 2 day ones with the 1K buy-in. It's like that was well over 300,000. So why am I paying the 2,000 to get this prize pool, right?
Right.
Now that being said, I'm gonna do it, but I'm just I'm just very curious what what the proposition here is. And one thing about these quantums is it makes it very hard to analyze kind of what your value proposition really is, right? Because of
Right.
all these different stacks and binds, right? So
Yeah, and on top of that, it's always important to remember in these quantums that there are a bunch of day one payouts, right? So when you take out rake and then you take out all the day one payouts, so they pay you the min cash or whatever that is just for qualifying for the next day, and then all the double bag bonuses, you might be taking out somewhere around like 25% of the prize pool, right? So just, or maybe even 30% on
yeah,
the high end. So,
exactly. So that
yeah, so just,
yep, to me, what that does is that makes this 300K guarantee. That kind of puts that in jeopardy for the day two buys, thinking they're buying in for a
right.
300K tournament
Yeah.
because they can hit their $300,000 guarantee, but like you said, they could have already taken 50, 60, 70,000 out to pay out these day ones. But they've still hit their guarantee, so that may not be going into that day two prize pool that you actually win. Now, when it goes way over the amount, like it typically does, not a problem. But that is definitely something to keep in mind, especially when it's kind of tight. The tournament is smaller than you would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah,
Um,
so you're paying 2,100 for basically something like maybe a 250K. So just be aware. So I'm not saying it's a terribly bad deal, but it just seems I'm surprised that it's not something a little bit lower for a lower guarantee.
yeah, yeah. Do you think one thing I kind of was thinking about is, and one of the reasons I thought about this is because last Saturday I actually drove up to Vegas and played in one of the day ones for the 500K up there at the Win.
Oh,
So
nice. How'd that go?
yeah, that didn't go so well.
Oh, I
So I
remember. But what I mean, other than maybe you not having a good result, like what did you think about the venue? Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, so the venue, very nice. It was my first time playing a tournament or poker at all at the Win. Definitely really nice venue. I liked the tournament area in that tables were good. The dealers seemed really good. It was honestly a little distracting playing in the afternoon, that Saturday afternoon, because the tournament tables are right next to the hallway to their kind of
Yeah.
outdoor beach club. So you
Yep.
just constantly have a flow of people in bathing suits walking back and forth all afternoon.
Right.
So that's a little distracting,
It is.
but definitely nice area. One thing that I was kind of pushing myself to see how I could, how I would be able to perform doing a. I drove up that morning and just played immediately. I'm pretty confident saying I feel like I'm getting too old to do that. So maybe next time we'll
Yeah.
just suck it
Uh,
up, get that night before hotel room.
Yeah, I tend to try to. I used to do that, but I feel like maybe a couple years ago, I'm just like, you know what? It's way better that I just wake up in a bed there instead of running to the tournament area with my luggage
Yeah.
and just jumping into some day one or something.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing I did was I woke up way earlier than I typically do to get there, kind of at a reasonable time. I think next time if I do try to do that, I'll just be happy to kind of late reg a bit and get a little more sleep. So, but
Yeah,
no, it was a
yeah.
great event. I fired 2 bullets, did not get there, but I did see a handful of regs from LA. In fact, at my table, I played with a guy I'd probably played at maybe 5 tables. With over the past 2 weeks. So it's like you drive all the way to Vegas just to play with the same fella. It's one of those situations, one of those welcome to the Chesterfield South situations from Rounders, right?
That's it. Interesting because I didn't think that that many of the LA regs would go out to Vegas for this, but I do see a bunch of their names there. So I would be interested. I mean, it'd be impossible to get that data somehow, but it really would be interesting to see how many of our LA people actually go out to these events all the time.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I saw a handful there. Like for instance, Mr. Kwok Lee, who won the event
Yep.
at the Gardens last week. I know he did cash. He did day two. I saw him there. As we're talking, as we just showed the Mr. Pham there. He goes up there to play, so he was probably there. I saw a couple of the younger guys, so I would be pretty confident saying there were at least say 10 guys there. And then here's the
Mm.
other thing: is that the guys who will drive up there to play, like myself, like Quack, and these guys, we're the guys who are most likely to buy straight into day two. And
Mm.
help make up these guarantees if they're a little short on the other days. I think, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
so like that could also be a real concern when they run these, because if you notice these quantums, all of their big events, they're in fact only really running this one quantum with a guarantee, and none of these day twos, none of them are over the weekend, which is when the win events are, the win day twos and the win big day
Mm.
ones. And I know this weekend's a very popular event up there on the win schedule. This is the $1 million guarantee mystery bounty event this weekend.
Yeah,
I
yeah. People love a
believe,
good mystery bounty.
if I recall, last year, Mr. Paul Chotterson pulled the big bounty on his birthday up there. If I recall, I remember seeing that clip on Twitter. It was a in typical Paul high kicking fashion. Some
You know what? I'm always happy when that dude has success because he's
oh
such a good
yeah,
guy.
oh yeah,
And he's
he's
such a hoot to be around.
he's a very fun guy to have in the room, that's for sure. So I know that's a really popular event. So I know a lot of the guys who will be firing a lot of bullets will be up there. So, and another interesting stat, it'd be hard to collect as well. I'm curious how large, what percentage of these fields, these quantums and whatnot, are made up of the same guys firing over and over again, right? Because we've said this before. I feel like the quantums really really benefit people who can fire a lot of bullets, so you can get those double bag bonuses, right? Maybe get a big stack, or they really benefit the guys who can fire straight into day two. So I'm
You
curious.
know what's like at the end of the day, sometimes I'm just talking to random people who I feel like I've never really played with before. They'll just tell me, "Oh yeah, this is like the third time I've cashed this." I'm like, "Wow, that's insane." So I guess a lot of people really do play multiple of these.
Yeah, yeah, and this that kind of makes this opening event, assuming people think that same way, even more not risky, but it'll be interesting to see how the turnout goes, because with only 3 day ones, really, I mean, there are 9 flights, but you can realistically only really play 3 times to get
Right.
those double bags, right? The
Yeah.
incentive to bag more than once isn't really there, so
Yeah.
you know. So it'll be interesting how that turns out. But yeah, anyways, they have that running Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the exact same schedule every day. 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. for the $560 flight, where 20% advance, and then 2 p.m. for the $300 buy-in, where 10% advance. And as we said, the registration for both of those is open for what looks like 3.5 hours after reg opens. So you've got some time to register on those. They're running mega satellites at night. I believe the one they ran today is actually to get into the 560 flight, but I think on
Mm.
Wednesday and Thursday, no, the one on Wednesday I think is also for a 560 flight. The one on Thursday they're running is to get a day two seat.
That's what they should actually do is that, instead of landing this thing on a Friday, just have Friday be day 1D, then run your 150K on Saturday and let the day two, and then, run the satellite on Saturday night when that 150K starts dwindling down and you get some free tables, and then set day two on Sunday so people can make it. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. They've done that before in the past as well. I believe when they had that 100K guarantee on Saturday, it was right over some other final table thing they had been running
Mm.
earlier in the week. So It's
Yeah.
definitely kind of puzzling. But you know, you as you brought up, so day two on Friday. Also on Friday is a 30K guarantee, $250 deep stack, and then on Saturday they have what I think is going to be the the more exciting events of this series until we get to the main event, the mini mega. Are these 150K guarantee, $400 buy-in deep stacks on Saturday?
Yeah, these ones always get huge turnouts. Usually, if you get there just a little bit later than when Red starts, you're stuck in a pretty long line. So
Yeah.
these are definitely popular events.
Yep, absolutely. I recommend getting there early or getting there kind of late because
Yeah.
that middle time is the line is very long. I believe that the when they ran this as a 100K guaranteed, I think the first one after the World Series, I believe they broke their record for kind of largest day one that they've had at the bikes. I think one of the floor mentioned that, and I think that tournament had like over 800 people in it. I think.
That's crazy for
If
one day.
I
And
think
it's funny
so.
how it changes your strategy too, because I see people about to call an all in and they're going and like visually checking the line to see how long it is before they make a decision.
Oh, I
Um,
constantly am doing that.
yeah, yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
But no, yeah, these are great events. Yeah, definitely get out there, especially if you're unable to play multiple days of poker on the weekend and you can only squeeze in one. These are great little events, which is probably why they're so popular. So as much as I'm screaming for more of these bigger events to hold their day twos and day threes on the weekends, totally get that these are really popular events with everyone.
yeah, absolutely. I really think this Saturday, $400 price. I think anything between like $300 and $600 in a 1 day event with nice guarantees a real sweet spot around here, and these always kill. So I'm
Yeah,
excited about that.
yeah.
So then on Sunday they'll be having the 40K, another 40K guarantee mega stack, $250 buy-in, so a little lower price point on that. And then at the night for all these, as people are probably used to, if they come to these, they run their Survivor events. So that is what's going to be going on in the Big Poker October for this weekend. Um, all right. So our next topic is the supposed and what we perceive as and this is not just us saying this. We other people have mentioned this before. What seems to be like a new poker boom, kind of sweeping live poker, and in particular in live tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this has been going on for a while, and I think the World Series is typically a good barometer for how popular tournament poker is getting. But then I've seen other people say online, well, the World Series of poker is its own little like special thing. You can't let that indicate that the rest of the industry is having a boom. But you see, just big guarantees everywhere, big prize pools everywhere, ton of people coming out and playing. So we are definitely in the middle of a huge poker tournament boom, which is fantastic.
Yeah, like I said, after the series, the bike broke its 1 day record, over 800 people in that event. The
Yeah.
WPT Championship, right after that, last year they had a $15 million guarantee on their main event. It hit 29 million. This year, you would expect an operator maybe to up the guarantee to 25 million if they're being bold, right? Maybe 30, but no, 40 million guarantee this year. They see it.
Yeah.
World Series Poker announced an entirely new bracelet series in the Bahamas.
Yeah, operators do not like coughing up overlays, so you should just take the fact that they're setting guarantees higher as that they are all recognizing like how big tournament poker is getting right now, and they're raising these guarantees, and they know that they will actually get enough people to get $40 million worth of entries, right? So it's just really smart right now to be raising your guarantees if you're a poker operator anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm really happy about this, and I feel like I'm right in the midst of it. I'm obviously a part of it. I wasn't firing these tournaments before COVID, and now I've been firing a ton. Well, to be fair, for about 2 months before COVID happened, I started firing tournaments, but right around then is when I was firing them. What do you think is going on, Derek? Why are suddenly everyone is flocking to these live tournaments?
It's interesting because we had the money maker boom, and then around the money maker time frame, we also started getting like whole cameras, right? In tables, which then made it just much more watchable in terms of like watching streams and watching ESPN. Now I don't know. There's not really like any specific like set of players that won a huge event that seem to be driving the popularity. I don't think there's anything specific. There's just nothing specific. I just feel like poker just continues to get more and more fun and interesting to play for people. Um, You would think that maybe even the emergence of solvers might have killed things a little bit, but no, everything's going strong. And maybe we don't really need to interpret if there's an event or not. Let's just all accept that poker is a fantastic game, right? It is not like blackjack or like roulette. It is much closer to chess. People love these, psychological, mental, almost academic challenge of poker. When you combine that with the, the gambling aspect, yeah, it's one of the best games out there. So maybe that's all it is. It's just more and more people are just getting attracted to it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned chess. I definitely was going to mention that chess also, experienced a really huge boom over COVID, right? And I think, I agree with you. I don't think it's any one thing that's really made the numbers kind of start jumping around in America here and in across the world, really. But
Yeah.
I know for chess, right, being stuck inside, having to find some kind of board games to play, right? Being people seeking out more of their kind of stuck inside activities from the past and things they love. And man, America, like you said, we love our games, we love our gamble. I think
Yeah.
more people just started picking poker back up over COVID. I think that was a big part of it. Um,
Well,
Honestly, I think that what you said about solvers and whatnot, for me, we kind of touched on this in an episode before. I don't really love playing online. And I feel like all those people that were forced to play online, myself included, over COVID, once we got, kind of got that itch to play poker again, simultaneously, a lot of us also got that itch. I can't wait to stop playing online and play live again, right? Because
yeah.
I mean, like I said, you read about, especially if you feel like, if you already feel like your edge isn't there with the solvers, right? You're like, oh, everyone else is sitting there. They could be cheating. They could be colluding. It's just me here. I'm just a casual guy. I want to go have fun. I want to have a drink. I don't want to be sitting here against these bots, against these cheaters, against these guys, these 10 guys over there in another country cheating to beat me, or against a site that's rigged. I want to get out and play live, right? So I feel like all of those things combined really helped push
Yeah.
people out into the card rooms and casinos.
And with cheating online, remember this, and this is such a great story because Barry Greenstein, was such a beast back then, and he's still such a really good player now. But during the ultimate bet scandal, but that was a really bad scandal
Yeah.
where they had super users, right? People could see your whole cards. They could see Barry Greenstein's whole cards, but he was still winning. Like that guy is such a beast, right? That's such a funny story. But like it's even when you equate poker to chess, like chess is readily available. You can play chess anywhere online, but to play poker online for money, it's kind of hard. It's really fractured unless you want to go to some shady sites. And obviously, I think ACR has become much more reputable, over the last like year or so. They're getting really, really big, but it's still tough to, like get money on and off. And you're just still skirting the sort of the borders of legality, right? So, but, just again, it just almost seems like against all odds, poker is just exploding. But maybe we don't need to read into anything. It's just a great game.
Yeah, and you bring up another interesting point there. Playing for money online is difficult for most people. There are like what 6 states maybe where it was legal
Yeah,
during COVID, but that doesn't mean that a lot of people weren't just playing Zynga poker, weren't just playing free
that's
poker,
true.
app poker, and that also will potentially get that fire ignited to want to get out there once casinos open up again, once your local bar is holding a little poker tournament, right? I think that all helps. And another thing that I personally think might be helping somewhat is we had the big kind of that big stock market rebound after all the stimulus came out. We've had all this
Hmm.
inflation, so to speak. Which frankly means that like I think we've mentioned this before too. Like $250, $150, $100 tournament isn't quite as expensive as it used to be, right? So
That's true. With
y-
inflation, it does seem like, yeah, in some weird way that it's cheaper to enter. And we did, we had probably one of the worst periods in the stock market ever over the last like, 2 years or so, and it has mostly recovered back. So yeah, maybe it is also just people having a little bit more extra cash to go play, which is nice. Um, but yeah, I mean, even with that, and I mean, when you think about how high inflation is, I think a lot of people are suffering just trying to pay their
oh no,
bills.
absolutely.
So I don't, yeah, I still just feel like it's just, people recognize how good of a game poker is. Maybe it's just that the operators are just making it nicer to play, and there's just more places to play and more events to play. So yeah, it's just, yeah, just the boom. It's just a great game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really have my fingers crossed that so many people are seeing it for the great strategic game that it is, that it's going to
Yeah.
start shaking off that stigma. Obviously, yes, it is. There is still gambling involved, and it's very, upfront. So you can't avoid the fact that
Yeah.
yes, you are turning random cards, but all across the world, it's really picking up popularity. I think I mentioned this last week, but even when I was in Korea, I was seeing poker clubs
Yeah.
across the
You were
cities
saying
where
that.
gambling's illegal, right? So I actually went into some of the poker clubs and tried to figure out what was going on, because I knew Koreans can't gamble legally. They're not even allowed to go into the casinos they have. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to speak with someone who was very fluent in English, but I did a little research online, and I could be wrong, but from what I discovered, and I did actually play in kind of a little sit and go they were running. Um, so that was fun. The players there definitely were on the newer side. It felt like, so it felt a lot like a kind of like a home kitchen table game. So that was fun. I did not win. I got in with a combo draw against the overpair and could not hit. But that's beside the point. So what's interesting about these club system in Korea is you go in there, you pay your entry fee, right? And when you win or you place in these events, it seems what you win isn't money. You win points, right? And this was the part that was unclear on the point system. I'm not sure if it's a network of poker clubs that share a point system or if it was just at that spot. But you win points and you use those points to buy into more tournaments, right? So this was starting to kind of remind me of was when I used to play Magic. You go to a store, you play in a Magic tournament, they would give you store credit. You could spend that store credit, buy some stuff, or you could just use it to play in another tournament. And the interesting thing was I then looked up another thing that I saw on the wall. They had these posters on the walls with money values and some names on them that said the Korean series of poker. So I'm wondering, well, how are they winning real money, right? Because if you get real money involved, how's that not gambling eventually in the eyes of the law? And it looks like the Asian Pacific Poker Tour is kind of partnered with these guys, and they run at least this one series a year. Where in order to play in the series, what you do is the players come and they buy in with tickets. And from my understanding, they win these tickets at qualifier events at potentially at these clubs or at other kind of qualifiers. And this is really starting to remind me of kind of these other kind of systems like Magic or like any other kind of regular strategy game qualifier series, right? Like I'm not 100% sure how chess works. I'm sure they must have some qualifier tournaments into bigger tournaments. This really feels like kind of, for any Magic players out there, this really feels like Pro Tour qualifiers or Grand Prix trying to get into qualified for the big Pro Tour prize money tournaments, right? So and then the money for those all comes either from maybe these clubs that run these qualifiers pay dues or something, or maybe I know on the website the APPT was their goal is to try and raise interest in poker and publicity in poker in Korea and attract sponsorship money, right? And honestly, even with that first tournament we talked about today, with the ESPN sponsoring that tournament, I mean that's kind of where poker could or where I would love to see tournament poker go, because if you have in this case ESPN being a sponsor, right, that's marketing dollars they're spending. Would they spend $2,500 for marketing to run a
Right.
contest on their show, get pictures all over social media, maybe these winners did some stuff. I mean, we're talking about them now, and that's, I mean, you can't really call that gambling for the people who entered that tournament, right? So I mean that would be amazing. If I could
Yeah.
make one thing happen in poker, it would be to somehow find a way to get more legitimate sponsors, I guess non-gambling sponsors, to come in and and fund some tournaments and try and find a way to make it so that you just pay an entry fee, you don't pay your money, and then you could have these tournaments in anywhere, any place, any event, any convention center. It wouldn't be gambling, right?
Yeah, it does seem like people run these things to get around probably gambling regulations, right, in a bunch of different locales. But yeah, I mean, the idea though of having like pro am tournaments is a good one, and I'm sure many people would love to do it. It's probably not the same as a true pro am in sports, where it's like really hard for you as a golfer that's not very good to ever make it, you know, to be able to ever qualify. Whereas you could obviously qualify if you're not that great at poker, because poker is still, even with how much of a skill game it is, right, on a day to day basis, there is a lot of luck involved.
Right, right. But as a side effect, if they did run the system more like like a PGA, I think that would be the gold standard, right? Is the PGA.
Yeah.
I mean, they have that added advantage where, and kind of an aside, this is kind of what upsets me when people try and talk about like how tennis and golf are different than saying playing poker tournaments, right? Um, the you must there are open tournaments all over for golf, right? You have to pay an entry fee, you have to pay greens fee or whatever. Just to practice golf, you have to pay to play at the courses. You have
Yep.
to pay a lot of money to buy the golf clubs, to buy the golf bags, to buy the golf shoes, the everything, right? And because you have to pay all that money to participate, that's why you can get these big sponsors, right? Because they're all making tons of money off of what the amateurs are getting in there to buy, right? So that's awesome. We need to get that in poker. But how is that any different than a poker player who has to pay a couple dollars and who loses a little money playing throughout the year in their
Right.
smaller tournaments, right? So it's like
Right.
a poker player who loses $500 across the year might get really yelled at, right, by their people for gambling and losing, right? But if his hobby's golf and he spends $1,000 a year on greens and new clubs and lessons and whatever, that's fine. I mean, come on, you gotta.
That's true. That's very, very true. Because I mean, like, you're still getting, even if you don't win, you're still getting that experience of playing poker, which obviously you're playing because you enjoy. So it's the same thing as with golf. Um, Maybe if it's just greens fees, you're not getting those back, right? But then hopefully in some sort of a other weird entry type of system, like a pro-am system, like yeah, you have a shot at winning some money.
Yeah, and it's okay even if you're not going to be making it. The side effect of if we did end up with a system where you had to qualify is that a much smaller percentage of pure amateurs would be making it up to those higher level tournaments, right? But
Yep.
then you would actually have, instead of having to self-select the best players into an event like the Triton by having the biggest buy-ins, it would be by the qualifying, right?
Yeah.
By earning your way there. So,
Yeah.
just something I wish someone could figure out. I wish someone could figure out how to get the money to work. But I feel like we're heading that way almost back before Black Friday when they shut everything down. But we'll see if something can develop again. Um, Another interesting question, though, right, is we are seeing this big boom in tournaments. Do you feel like you see the same thing? I know you used to play a lot of cash around LA. Do you feel like you're seeing the same boom in the cash games around LA?
So I don't play cash at all anymore. But from what I hear, and then maybe from just what I observe of ever being in a casino, it seems like the cash game scene inside the casinos is a bit dying, or at least there's not as many people playing in the casinos anymore. I hear that a lot of people are playing, more like private games. But then again, this is all just kind of hearsay because I don't know that much about cash games. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I feel like the same anecdotally. I feel like people talk about the private games as the only real way to make money. I don't really participate in any large cash games myself either. So instead of talking about something we don't know about, why don't the other question then is why do you play tournaments instead of cash games? What drew you to tournaments and away from cash games? And what is the difference in your mind, or why do you like why are we here instead of over there, right? Because I used to play a lot of cash as well, kind of making a hard switch to tournaments a couple years ago myself.
Well, the real reason is just because I didn't have the time to be constantly grinding cash games because it is just a very long grind to grind out a specific hourly. And then when I think about how much or what I'm in poker to play for, like, yes, I do love the strategy part of it, but I'm also there to make money. And tournaments is how you can make $100,000 in the weekend on a couple of $100 buy-in, right? Like there's not, it's really, really hard to do that in cash games. So just for that alone, and this is also why I think that, for the people who love those one day events, think a little bit about your ROI, because if you can play in one of those bigger, quantum events that go multiple days, as an example, or any events that go multiple days, you have a much bigger prize pool, and you're putting in roughly the same amount for a much bigger prize pool. So those are probably the ones, schedule allowing, that you should be playing, because you should always be thinking about your ROI, especially if you can't do it all the time, right? Um, it takes a lot of volume to make money in poker, right? So then in this case of tournaments, you can get a couple of good runs and just, make a whole bunch of money. So that was kind of what drew it to me at first. But then over time, I learned that tournament poker is so much more interesting to me strategically than cash games. There are just so many things around chip preservation, obviously like ICM around money bubbles and final tables, just the thrill of final tabling and like, getting a podium finish or winning a tournament. It's just so much more than just having a huge cash game session, right? Because it just feels like one more win out of so many other big wins that you might have in cash. So yeah, just for all those reasons, I think. And also now, like over time, it feels like in cash games you almost have to play a little bit suboptimally and be a little bit splashy, right? Just so that people kind of don't like hate your guts because you're just sitting there with your headphones on, like grinding away. And then that's probably a good way to not get invited into those lucrative private games. So I like that. I also don't have to worry about that in tournaments. I just play how I play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, for me, some of it is definitely that same kind of feeling. As we mentioned before, we're pretty busy during the week. We really can only play in the weekends, and so kind of the same reason, but a slightly different angle at it. With that, being able to hit a big score is, yeah, as someone who's working all week long, I didn't need to. So I used to play a lot of cash, and for a couple years I was doing it for for pocket change there, but I don't really need to win every week, right? I don't have to have a winning cash session every week to be continue
Yep.
playing poker. But
Yep.
so really, what's the difference to me? I was thinking to if I go and I play and I win $800, I win $1,000, I lose $1,000 playing cash in the weekend, and like you said, that could take 30, that could take 25 hours, as opposed to, well, what if I just go and I lose $500 every week for a couple months, but then I win 50 grand in a weekend? Well,
Right.
that seems like way more fun, right? And the whole
Right.
point of doing this is, number one, it should be fun, right?
Yeah.
So that definitely, right there, as someone who can't play limited time, you know, if you can stand losing many times over and over and over again because you can afford it, and this is fun for you, man. Like you said, the final tabling, getting that win, getting that top three,
Yeah.
way
That
more fun.
thrill.
And
Right.
to go right along with that, I honestly, I like the fact that you can, I started playing poker during the Moneymaker boom, right? I saw those guys. I think you did too. We saw those guys on TV getting the big sponsorships, becoming kind of the poker celebrities, right? You can't get famous playing cash games. Now there's a slight
Yep.
chance if you're a splashy rich guy and you can get on the streams and be a fun person that way.
Yeah.
But man, I certainly don't have enough money to do that. So being getting good results and getting getting your picture in the papers enough times with these tournaments, winning some bracelets, any of that kind of stuff, you can start to get a little poker notoriety, right? You can get a little clout,
Yeah.
and that's something that it's not worthless, right? If any of this other stuff ever does happen, or if there's ever you basically you really can't become like, you can never have a chance to become sponsored by a site just being an anonymous cash grinder, even if you're great, right? Um, Maybe if you exclusively play on the one site, you could become notorious, but for the most part, it's not going to happen. But if you win the main event, you're still going to be able to
Yeah.
do some stuff, right? So that has some value too. That's definitely fun. I mean,
Right.
we're here talking about things, trying to bring the word to the folks, but we also, we're here because we like being seen. I know you have a poker vlog that you've started as well. Another reason potentially that people are coming out and playing more poker. They're seeing it more. They're living it more. They're dreaming more because of these vlogs, right?
Yeah.
So definitely
Yeah, I
all
get a
that.
lot of people, either dropping comments or just DMing me about, how much they appreciate the vlogs, and that's kind of great. I love that people like that kind of stuff, right? Because maybe not everyone gets the opportunity to go out there and play poker, and then the people who do go out there and play poker, it's always nice just to see how other players like play, and then almost get that experience, right? Because even like during the summer, I love watching all of Daniel's like vlogs and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I started watching him myself this year. They're definitely fun. His
yeah.
personality is so high energy. Really, really makes it exciting to watch.
Yeah,
Um,
and between him and like Patrick Leonard's like Instagram stories, I think those are two of my favorite pieces of content during the WSOP.
yeah, for sure. And then the other thing you mentioned about tournaments just being more kind of dynamic and interesting strategically, I think I agree with you.
Yeah,
Really deep stack poker, like hand per hand, that's the most interesting poker, right? But over a long session, I think that tournaments are just so interesting because the number of variables that change every hand,
Yeah.
every table change, every the payout structure affects things. But for me, the thing that really cinches it, and it's kind of a funny joke I have with my friends, when they ask me about why don't I play as much cash? I mean, why I like to play tournaments, and it's like, well, because the thing I really like about a tournament is if you are at a table with someone and you know in a cash game, someone can hit and run you. At a cash game, someone can kind of bum hunt, move around the table. Someone
Yeah.
can be, if a cash game, somebody upsets you, they can just lock it down and they can just not play another hand. They can go get a
Yeah.
drink, get a massage, and just never play hand. Literally, I've been at home games, I've been at casino games even. Guy will play two hands, leave for 10 minutes, play one hand, leave for a half
Yeah.
hour, play, sit there, not play, just like basically be asleep, keep folding. But at a
Yeah.
tournament, if you're at
You're
the
locked in.
table,
You're locked in.
exactly. I said it's like, well, you're basically locked in a cage with me until one of us is out. And I
Right.
love that. That's a game,
Yeah.
This other business, it's not really a game. Not really playing the game is not a game. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the game I came to play anyways, right? I came to play poker.
Yeah.
So I love
Exactly.
that. I love that. I hate in the things that I hate the most about cash games are the non-poker parts that you kind of
Yeah.
alluded to, right? Trying to get invited to these games, trying to stay in the games, trying to keep the good for the game players in your game, trying to police the table from people who are just outright trying to cheat everyone else and angle shoot everyone, trying to game select across the room, table change 20 times you see people do, trying all this other stuff, man. It's just a headache. I just want to sit and play, and I want to paraphrase what they keep saying over there in Chessland. They want to let the poker speak for itself.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
Exactly.
So that's for me something I definitely am a fan of. And coming from that kind of Magic tournament world, it just I don't know what took me so long to get in tournaments. I feel like it was just there weren't a lot of great tournament series happening where I lived on the East Coast at the time. But it's just really the natural thing for me for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. So aside from I don't know. You know, let's hold off. I think we're working on trying to get some guests in here eventually, right? And I think we should have a guest on if we're going to talk about private games, casino private games,
Yeah. Let's get
stuff
people who
like
know
that.
more about cash
So
games to come in and tell us more
yeah,
about what's actually happening there, because everything from us is just observational.
yeah, exactly. So why don't we jump on to the next topic? Let's our rumor mill of the week. We mentioned this at the top. So, oh, that's a terrible way to see the headline. Here we go. So two of the Hustler Casino Live regulars, Blank Check Ben Lee here and Wesley Westside Wesley, were apparently involved in a fraud with the target of a kind of a fraud attack here, and I believe Mr. Lee got taken for the tune of about 30,000 or more. Unfortunately, this story actually started, I don't know a ton about it, but I did read what I read on, I followed the story on Twitter. So a couple weeks ago, someone put out an anonymous blog post on Wesley and claimed that he scammed him for $250,000 in a cryptocurrency scam. It's big allegations. It was an anonymous post. And then apparently after that, this guy contacted Ben Lee. And, I saw that Berkey also posted that someone had contacted him about the Wesley allegations and was trying to kind of convince him to pay him money to get more information on Wesley. This guy claimed to have dirt on Wesley, claimed that he was. Claimed that he had more about the fraud, claimed that he had information on him, having coming into the country legally, I guess. And then he also started trying to pit these guys against each other because I guess Wesley and Lee aren't huge fans of each other. I don't watch HCL a whole ton, so I'm not really sure of the whole storyline there.
Yeah. I don't
But
watch it much either, but it sounds like a crazy story. I mean, sometimes I feel like I live in an alternate universe where there's just people like this out there doing this kind of stuff, man. It's nuts.
seriously, yeah. He tried to get 80,000 pounds from Lee, claiming that he could get evidence of immigration fraud on Wesley. Lee said no to that. But then later, this guy, I guess he claimed that Wesley was threatening him and sending people to his house. So, um, and convinced Lee that he might be in danger too. So he was able to pull $30,000 off this guy in this whole, fake thing. Eventually, Lee and Wesley and I guess they pulled in one of the Hustler Casino guys to kind of mediate. They got together and they compared notes and they realized that this guy was just playing them off each other to try and get money. And man, he was successful. I don't know what's going to happen to this guy. I hope they're able to do something to him. I guess he's a British guy. I believe they said his name at the beginning, Russell Thamer.
Hmm.
So
I feel like when people approach you in poker about anything moderately sketchy, it's probably going to be sketchy and you should just ignore it. That's probably the best advice I can give to anyone. It's already enough of a game of risk that you don't need to be just getting yourself involved with sketchy people doing sketchy things.
yeah, I mean that goes without saying. I've forever just kind of a policy against even loaning people money, let alone
Right.
just trusting people
I'm
that
the same.
asking for money in the poker community. I mean, a
Right.
little while ago we had that other fiasco in the community about with Rob Mercer and his fake cancer and his GoFundMe. I can't believe anyone gave that guy money. To be honest with you, it's just like
Yeah.
you feel bad for someone. I mean, you hope it's not true that they have cancer, but you're not going to give money to a stranger, guys. Like
Yeah.
especially a stranger who's a gambler. I'm sorry, like you're already in an uphill battle for the first part, but the second part, if I don't know you, that just seems like I'm asking for it.
I still believe that, especially in tournament poker, the majority of people that you see at the tables at the casinos on a week by week basis, they're all just good people, right? They're just there to play a game.
Oh, sure, sure.
But for sure, this is definitely the type of industry or vocation that tends to attract some of the very worst in our society, who are going to try to scam you of money, or going to try to do super scammy things like what that guy did. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, but
just be careful.
all those, most of those good people aren't going to be asking you for money, so you know,
Exactly, right?
yeah. And then you have the other side of it. Rampage got scammed a bit back as well. You have
Yeah.
people who hit these massive scores and they feel like they don't deserve them, or they feel like they just haven't had money before, and they're just kind of easy targets for these guys. So you definitely have to protect yourself.
Yeah, I mean, just say no. It's not the end of the world. Don't feel bad about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. I mean, they people exist. These people exist, and they keep doing what they're doing because it works, right? So
Yeah.
it's definitely not it's definitely not anyone's fault. But you gotta stay aware and try and protect yourself the best you can.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, and then our procedural error for the week, I did, and this came up because of my drive up to Vegas this weekend. I kind of left off the second part where I drove up that morning, I played, fired 2 bullets, and then I drove back that night. So that
Wow,
was
what a trip.
exactly, that was pretty taxing. I was kind of, like I said, I was kind of just testing myself to see if I could do it. And like I said, I believe the verdict is I am officially told to do that kind of a thing these days. That being said, though, I was curious. The win day one there, it had a dinner break on the schedule, which as an LA player, I was surprised by. Once I saw it and I thought about it, was not surprised. I know that's no dinner break is kind of an LA thing. But I was kind of curious if everyone else agreed. And we had 31 votes, 71% agree that dinner breaks on day one are just not really preferable. And I kind of feel strongly about this, like especially this a lot. By definition, at least one of the day ones is going to be right before day two, and this was coming
Yeah.
up during the World Series a lot. The length of the days that you're creating by having these dinner breaks is just insane. And then trying to get to sleep and then come back for the next day, like just give us that time back. I mean, seriously, just give me the time back. In this case, let me drive home an hour earlier. And it was especially
Yeah.
painful for me this time because I had just gotten extremely short stacked right before the dinner break. So I knew I was very likely to bust almost
Yeah.
immediately upon coming back. So it's like, oh, great. I have to sit here for an hour, come back, play. I think I played 3 hands, and then leave. So I could have been on the road for an hour already.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think
uh,
everything's a trade off, right? Because I think net, um, being able to end your day earlier, right, just affords you not only just more rest, but just say you do, and like kind of super early on the schedule, you can go out and have dinner somewhere and still have a nice evening before you go to bed and then have to come back the next day. And then you're just trading that off for maybe, trying to wolf down a quick bite to eat, when you get a little bit hungry. And yeah, that's a little bit less comfortable than getting a full 30 or 60 minutes, but that's a trade off that you make. But on the other side, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. Um, when I'm in Vegas for the World Series in the summer, I love the dinner breaks because you know what? I'm not driving anywhere. I'm just walking back up into my hotel room, right after the tournament's over. On top of that, the dinner break allows me to go just take a nap because I get exhausted. So I can just run and just grab a quick bite to eat. Usually I'll just order something on the app, run and pick it up, scarf it down, and just sleep for 30 minutes and come back out a little bit refreshed. So that's helpful, right? So then from selfish perspective, I think maybe the players who are traveling have kind of nothing to do in the evening and don't have a commute, right? They might appreciate the dinner breaks like I do, but I still think that just having the rest of your night off and a shorter day seems preferable.
Yeah, if they renamed it into a nap break, I might be more
Nap break,
I might
yeah,
be more on board with it. To be
I'm
honest, I
down for
did
nap
try to
break.
nap during this dinner break, and another notch in the column of too old is after that little nap in my car, I was hurting. My shoulder hurt, my back hurt. But here's the other thing, though. This was only an hour-long dinner break, and at the series this year, they were an hour and a half. But I did
Yeah,
notice something. One of the times I kind of packed food, and I had something ready, quick grab and go, and that was fine. I had plenty of time to enjoy that and hang out. But the times that I didn't, where I had to like walk to meet someone, or even one time I was just trying to walk to the next building over and get Chipotle, an hour and a half is barely enough time. And
yeah,
this hour, not enough time to do anything but go to one of the overpriced places at the Win and barely, you can't go anywhere. You have to sit down because you're going to have to wait. So unless you left
yeah,
during the tournament to put your name in, or I guess you called because you're a regular, you're not getting in there. So
right.
one of the other guys that I knew, Jeremy Mintz was there. He was like, "Hey, you want to get some overpriced pizza on the dinner break real quick?" I'm like, probably not actually. I'm like, is it too fast? He said it's not even going to be that fast, right? So um, an hour, you're still running to scarf something down.
Yeah,
So like, why not? Let's just play and get done early,
yeah,
like you
just
said.
forget it. Let's just get it over with. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. So I am something I didn't know I was grateful for, or as grateful as I am, but grateful that the LA guys, it's probably just as much for their bottom line as ours because then they don't have their staff around as long. But
yeah,
I like that our day ones are done as soon as possible, even though they do go a little bit. I like that we don't just have an hour and a half of sitting there, right? Um, yeah, for sure. I think I had one other thing about. Oh yeah, but you know what? Here, this is how you can fix the dinner break, right? And I remember last year at the Legends, this seemed to be the case. If you want to have a dinner break, cater dinner for your players and have a 45-minute dinner break. Bam, everyone's happy.
yeah. That's true. I mean, if you make it that easy, then that totally makes sense. They just get them some food, get them a little bit of time to just go eat, right? And then even like the 40, like when the bike does that for their. They used to do that for the
But
World Series like main events. They would cater, right?
yeah,
And
I
I,
thought
I
that was at
really do.
Legends last year. Was it the World Series?
Usually they do it for the World Series mains, but then I guess maybe for the Legends. Was it for the Mega?
I don't know. I just remember one time
Okay.
last year I saw them setting up food, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh man, I'm not playing this. I wish I was."
I kind of miss the Mo buffets they used to have because now they just give you like that package meal. But still, then I almost feel like the 45 minutes they give you is too long because you're just done eating and then you're sort of wandering around for 20 minutes. So I even like feel like you can shorten that
Yeah,
a bit because I
if
mean
you
then
cater.
yeah, if you cater, it's just so fast to just go grab your food and eat it, right? So you don't have to like you're waiting on a much shorter line than like outside. So yeah,
Yeah. So look, guys in LA, or I mean not LA, guys in Vegas or whoever, do the math. If you're gonna give a dinner break, if you're gonna make your staff stay an extra hour, what's it cost to get your staff to stay an extra hour, and how much it costs to cater us for a meal and give us make that 15-minute break a half an hour, and that's it.
yeah,
What do you
yeah,
think? Is it much
yeah.
more expensive? Because man, that would make that a really nice tournament.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're just preparing the food there, right? The cost of that food isn't that much, so I think
Right, you
that's a
have a
nice.
kitchen already. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a nice benefit for players for sure.
that would be great. Yeah, and you know what? That people would talk about that. That would definitely be a feather in your cap if you ask me. So I don't know
Yeah,
if you do want to have them. That's my suggestion, man. Just cater for us. How much can it cost? It's gonna cost a
yeah,
casino less than $10 a person, I bet.
right.
Right? All right. So that's, I kind of had to vent about that because I could have gotten home before midnight, and I just didn't because I had to sit there for an hour before I threw my 3 big blinds in and didn't hit my ace. I mean, it's brutal. Let's do the roundup. All right. So the roundup for this week, we already covered what the large events are for this weekend. That is the bike. That is the Big Poker Oktober. In case you did need a quick reminder, let me just pop this up here. So if you have the time to play and you have the bankroll to play, these are the best events to play.
Yep.
In particular, highlighting on Saturday, the $400, $150 deep stack. If you have all Saturday to play, that is the one you want to play for sure. The Friday and Sunday deep stacks are pretty good values as well. If you don't want to play in them for some reason, the next best thing to do, in my mind, is going to be the Gardens dailies. And once again, playing the Gardens dailies get you those points for that WPT passport. So the Gardens has their regular dailies. So on Friday, they have their $250 $20K guarantee. Their Saturday, they have their $250 $25K guarantee. And on Sunday, they have their $130 $10K guarantee bounty. So if that is the next best set of tournaments in my mind, if you're looking for a lower price point, I think the ones over at Lucky Lady are probably your best bet. They have a 10K guarantee on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and those are $150 tournaments. So I think those are your next best bet. After that, Commerce has their dailies as usual. And if you are in the area of Hollywood Park and that is your place you like to play, be careful. There is no tournament on either Sunday or, let's see, this is the right weekend, right? Sunday or Monday, because there's a Rams game and then a Chargers game. So Sunday and Monday, there are no tournaments. They do have the regular Friday and Saturdays this week. All right. And I think that is pretty much everything going on in the tournament scene this weekend.
Yeah, it looks like lots of fun things to play, but definitely Big Poker October is going to get you the best bang for your buck. So if you can make it there, we will see you out there.
Absolutely. I know I will see you all who are down there on Friday and on Saturday. So until then and until next time, we will see you at the tables.
Yeah, and thank you for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.
That's right. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support. Thank you, Stop Capping, for popping in the chat. And for the rest of you, remember to like and subscribe.